Hi, welcome back to Born to Cook with Christy. In this episode, we are making another family favorite of sausage, peppers, and onions, cooking with wine. All right, first ingredient, obviously, is the sausage. I have mine still partially frozen because I prefer, and my husband prefers, the casings off of the sausages. It's just something that we both kind of skeeve. So I take the time when they're still partially frozen and kind of pierce it with the tip of my knife, slide it down the sausage carefully, and then remove the casings from all of them. If that's not your preference, obviously you skip this whole step. This is just routine for me. So I'm going to remove the casings from all these sausages. This is a 2 pound package of sausage. The original recipe that I have, I think, is from the Food Network channel. It's been years that we've been making it, so I really don't pay attention anymore. But I think it called for 1 pound of sausage, but I was making enough for this for our dinner and then for some other family members to take home. So I doubled up the meat factor and then kind of cut back some other ingredients to suit what our family likes. There we go, we're done our last one. And then clearly I'm going to wash my hands. You can see I put all of the casings in the trash bag there, so when I'm done with all the scraps, I can tie the bag and throw it in the trash. And then I'm just going to add some olive oil to this, I think it's 14-inch skillet. It's a Rachel Ray skillet, which has become one of my necessities, really. And then I like the sausages to get browned, so I usually just do some batches. I did 2 batches on this because if there's too many, it steams and it takes forever. So I get these couple of sausages started while I prep the rest of the vegetables. I suggest doing that because otherwise it doesn't get a firm texture in the meat, I feel. And I'm very texture sensitive. So then I'm just going to push these sausages out of the way, and then you can see the ghost of the house is going to move everything out of the way further. Wah. And there it goes. That's actually my husband moving everything out of the way because I have no sense of area or space. So the peppers are starting to brown up in the oil, and then I'm going to slice up peppers. Again, I think it was like 2 large green peppers in the original recipe. I don't like green peppers, they replay on me. So I usually just stick with red and orange. And like I said, I doubled up on a lot because it was feeding quite a few more people than are, normally just me and Joe. And then I try to cut the long red peppers in half because it's just too much and it can get sloppy. So you want to cut your peppers, make sure you take the seeds out, just because some people are sensitive to it, not us, but. And then, when you cut it like that, you can really kind of inspect to make sure that there's nothing extra there. These have already been rinsed, obviously. And then I kept an ear out for the sausages. I heard them sizzling, so I gave them a little turn just to start browning and searing them all. Not that they're cooking all the way through right now. This is basically just to get the outside a little bit firmer for when I throw everything else in there. And then once they start to brown and look good, I can throw the remaining in and continue cutting up the onions. You can do as many onions as you like. I love onion, but I don't want too many, so I just use 1 large Spanish onion for this particular dish. And then just kind of break them up as well. But as you can see, I have the sausages browning, and once they get somewhat decent, again, they're still raw in the center, I remove them for later on in the dish. Just keep it right there by the side. And then keep the fat from the sausage and the remaining olive oil in the pan, and break up your peppers so that they come into the little rings or little half moon crescent shapes. And then you can add the peppers that you sliced as well. I generally add onions first, excuse me, heartburn, before the peppers, just because I like them on the bottom so that they soften up a little bit faster. And of course, some salt, which will help sweat out all the vegetables. And this is flaked. Again, it's just my preference. Probably half a teaspoon of salt goes in there, but do what you like. Um, and then I'm going to add some pepper, freshly ground. Well, as fresh as you can get from a grinder from ShopRite. Lord only knows how long it was sitting on the shelf before I got my hands on it. And again, it's all on preference with the salt and pepper. I wouldn't go too heavy on the salt, because there is wine and sausage in there too, and they have a higher sodium content. So then just stir it around, see if everything can get coated in a little bit of the oil and the fat, and start to sweat down. Once it gets to a nice consistency where I can see that the onions are getting a little translucent and the peppers are getting a little bit more give in them, I'll add the wetter ingredients. This is fire roasted diced tomatoes. You can use regular diced tomatoes. I prefer the fire roasted. I think it's just got a better flavor. The only thing is, it does look like something burned in the pan when you were cooking it, and you have to explain to everybody that no, nothing burned. I've been doing this for a while. I promise you, nothing burned. It's just the fire roasted tomatoes. 4 cloves of garlic is what I prefer. Some may do more. This tool that I have that I'm putting the garlic cloves in is from Pampered Chef years ago. And it really, you'll see, does a really fine job of shaving the garlic so that it kind of dissolves into all the liquid that you're going to have in that pan. And then no one's going to really realize how much garlic there is if there's particular family members who have an aversion. They'll never know. Just gives it a nice flavor. So there I'm going to add the 14.5 ounce can of the fire roasted tomatoes and kind of get them working and it heated through because they start to break down, so you're not getting a big glob of them. And then we're going to add a cup of Marsala wine. I do the Marsala sweet. There is a dry version. I just prefer the sweet. I think it adds more flavor. So a cup of that, and then I'm going to use my nifty device here and shave that garlic. I highly recommend, I don't know if Pampered Chef still has this, but if you can find it, get it. The only downside to it is cleaning it is a pain because the remaining garlic kind of has to be coerced out of the inside, which has a divider in it. So it's a little time consuming, but it's worth it. And then I'm going to get everything stirred around and heated through. I believe I turned the heat up on this a little bit too. Again, just because I'm impatient. It was later in the day, I believe, when we taped this, so I wanted to get through. Tomato paste. Tomato paste in a tube like toothpaste. 2 tablespoons of it. You can do a little bit more if you like that really concentrated tomato flavor, which I do, but I think 2 is more than enough. And then you just pop that back in the fridge, unlike a can. It'll last forever. Once I get that in there, you can start adding all of your dried herbs. So here we have oregano, and I only do a half of a teaspoon, which is not much, but I feel like it's just enough for what I'm serving. Like, I doubled up on the meat, and I doubled up on the peppers, but that's just our preference. And then I did the same with dried basil. I believe the original recipe called for fresh basil, but I don't have time for that. Every time I buy fresh basil, it ends up going bad because I don't use it in time. And then a little bit of crushed red pepper. I did less than a half of a teaspoon there, but you can do, if you like it really spicy, you're probably already using the hot sausage anyway. But I don't, in this particular dish, I don't prefer any spice, just a little bit, nothing too strong. And then, of course, get that all stirred around so you don't have any clumps of herbs or tomatoes. And you can see the tomatoes have already started to break down. And then kind of hit the tomato paste with your spoon or utensil that you're using to break that up so that it melts in that much better. And then after we feel satisfied with that, we're going to put the sausages back in. And you can remember, I took the casings off, so I have to be a little bit more gentle with them. But I like to just nestle them down in the peppers and onions so that if they're not hitting the pan, they're really close. And so that they get more of the heat and then they get more of the flavor of the juice that's at the bottom. Now later on, once they're cooked, I'll take them out and slice them in half. If I were to do it now, it would make a mess because they're raw in the middle, and then the meat just gets all disformed, and that just isn't pleasant. People are going to be asking you what you cooked if you do that. And then just return the juice as well. So then I just let this go for a couple minutes, go and switch the laundry, do what you have to do, clean up a little bit, let them do their thing in their little jacuzzi there. And you'll see that they cook through. The peppers start to get soft, the onions get translucent, and you can see all that lovely juice starts to come up from the peppers releasing, and then the Marsala wine. The alcohol does pretty much cook out of this in case you're worried about feeding it to kids. No one's going to get drunk off the dish, but it does add a phenomenal flavor to just regular peppers and onions. So as you can see, the sausages have now cooked all the way through, so I'm cutting them in half. It just makes it easier when you build a sandwich to have them all cut in half, and then I return them to the pan and take the rest out and cut them up as well. Nothing's getting splattered all over. The meat's not coming through. Everything's cooked well. And then I just give it a couple of minutes there and stir it while I tell my husband dinner's almost ready so that we can get the rolls out and start prepping them. Now, the rolls I got for this, unfortunately, were a little bit too soft. Do you agree?
Yeah.
They're a little too they're like falling apart from the liquid. So when you go to get rolls, if you prefer to eat it that way, try to find a denser roll that can stand up to the juice and the heat from the peppers and the onions. It was still really, really good, but these fell apart really easily. As a side note, if you are watching your waistline and you want to eat this in a healthier manner, you can have this just as it is. Put it in a bowl and enjoy it. It's delicious. It's got plenty of flavor if you're looking for like a low carb, keto friendly type meal. Also, if you're not into the roll, you don't want a sandwich, throw it over some pasta. I think penne would probably be really good. I wouldn't go with a spaghetti or like a string pasta just because of the consistency and texture of the peppers, onions, and sausage. You're going to want something a little bit bigger. But I hope you enjoy this. This, again, is one of our family favorites. This is really good all year long. It's good for family gatherings. You can double up the recipe, triple it up, and bring it along. It'll be a big winner, a big hit for you. And then even to freeze it, freeze it, and then store it away for another day. And then, I'll show you. This is how we like it. We prefer it on rolls, sandwiches. Good movie night dinner. So I'm just going to throw down a couple pieces, enough to fill the length of the roll with some peppers. And then, of course, I'm going to seek out some onions and make sure that they're drenched in the juicy goodness. And there you go. Dinner served. I hope you enjoy. Don't forget to hit the like button or subscribe and leave a comment if there's anything else.